Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for the GRE. We have been solving math problems out of this book here, the official guide to the GRE, the revised general test. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. Today we'll discuss the concept of standard deviation. It's the continuation of what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we talked about the concept of it, and today we'll do an example of how to actually measure standard deviation with a very simple example that is actually in the book. If you turn to page number 274, you will find the example. Today is our lesson number 180. Turn to page 274, please. Example 4.2.8. We have 5 observations: 0, 7, 8, 10, and 10. Something like this is exactly what you will see on the exam, and they will ask you to calculate its standard deviation. Or they may give you 2 sets of data, 5 in this one set and 5 in the other, and simply ask you which one has the greater standard deviation. So you have to calculate it. There are 5 steps in the process, and we're going to follow the steps one by one. Step number 1, find the average of these observations. So we're going to do that. The average of these observations is going to be 0 plus 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 10. 7 plus 8 is 15, 25, 35. So it's this 35, and since there are 5 of them, you divide by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. That is the average of these 5 observations. The average of 5 observations. And that is usually denoted with the X with the bar on the top. That means average. Simply X means one of the observations here. For example, X1 here would mean 0. That's the notation. X2 means the second observation, which is 7. X3 is 8, and so on and so forth. And the general notation would be Xi, I being whatever the number that is. So if I happens to be 3, then X3 would be 8, and so forth. So X bar here, the mean is 7. That's step number 1, find the average. So we have that. To calculate the deviation, calculate the deviation of each, calculate the deviations from the mean, calculate the deviation from the mean for each of these observations, for each observation. So let's do that. Here are our observations: 0, 7, 8, 10, and 10. Our mean, we know, the mean, which is X bar, is, we just found out, is 7. So X minus X bar, 0 minus 7, 7 minus 7, 8 minus 7, 10 minus 7, 10 minus 7. That's what it means, the deviation from the mean, which equals -7, 0, +1, 3, and 3. So this second column that we just did is step number 2. The mean was step number 1. This is the second step. Step number 3, now we have to square each of these deviations. These deviations that we see here, -7, this is a -7. The first observation deviates from the mean by 7 units, and the negative tells us that it is 7 units below the mean, which of course makes sense because the mean is 7 and 0 is 7 units below 7. Hence the -7. This is 0 and so forth. Let's square them. Third step, step number 3. Step number 3, right here, step number 3, square the deviations. So -7 squared, 0 squared, 1 squared, 3 squared, and 3 squared. That's step number 3. Step number 4, find the average of these guys now. In order for us to be able to find the average, first you have to first find their mean. We have to first find their mean. So let's do that. Step number, so -7 squared is going to be 49, 0, 1, 9, and 9. 1 plus 49 is 50, and then we have 18. 50 plus 18 is 68. And there are 5 of them, obviously. So the average of the, take the average of the squares of deviation. Take their average. By what I meant by take their averages, take the average of the squares of the deviation. We just did. These are the squares of the deviation, and now we are in the process of calculating the average. But before we can figure out the average, we have to first find out the sum of these squares of deviation, which is 68. Therefore, the average is going to be 68 over 5, because there are 5 of them. 68 over 5, this is step number 4. The average equals 68 divided by 5. Let's see what 68 divided by 5 is. 68 divided by 5. How many 5s in a 6? 6 has 1 5. The remaining one goes and joins the 8, becomes 18. How many 5s in a 18? 18 has 3 5s. 3 5s are 15. And the remaining 3 is the remainder. So it turns out that the average is 13 3/4. We are at the penultimate step, the very second to the last step here. It turns out to be 13 3/4. The very last step is to take the square root of this quantity. So here, the standard deviation equals the square root of 13 3/5. That's it. That's your answer. And of course, I have no way of knowing what that is. You're going to need a calculator for it. But whatever that turns out to be, that is your answer. And that's what you're going to have to put in, or check mark. 13 1/4, we know 16, we know the square root of 16. We know square root of 16 is 4, so therefore square root of 13 3/4, which is going to be very close to 4. Very close to 4. And if I wanted to sound very smart, I would say it's going to be around 3.7, only because I'm looking at the book in front of me and it says 3.7. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye.